Hey, what's up, guys? We are back. It's Lizzy Jane. We have LUZCID joining me on the podcast this week. I am so ecstatic we finally had the chance to make this happen. And I'm actually in this place where I feel like it all worked out how it was supposed to, because us having as much time as we wanted served for one of my favorite conversations I think I've ever had on the podcast, which is saying a lot. Everything from production to industry talk to nature and climbing and dreaming and everything else in between. I really just want to hop right into it. Don't forget, if you love this podcast, if you learn anything from this podcast, please share with your friends, comment on the YouTube videos, subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Spotify podcast for the Lizzy Jane podcast. It all means more than you know, and it helps us substantially grow over time, which will lead to bigger guests, bigger platforms, and longer episodes. So without further ado, you are tuning into my podcast with special guest LUZCID. Hey guys, so lately I've seen a ton of larger shows I've been playing at that a lot of these festivals and venues are no longer allowing bags that are not clear. Well, guess what? Lunchbox Packs is coming in clutch again. They have just stepped up their anti-theft bags by releasing a fully clear hydration pack and snack pack. This is an absolute game changer for your summer festivals and events. Each bag is made out of TPU material that is incredibly durable, flexible, and made to not alter under extreme sun exposure over time. You also have the option to bring a skin in your bag on the way in, and once you're through that security line, you can zip on your skin for privacy of your belongings and to add some extra personalized fun flair. These hydration packs meet the majority of all festival regulations and guidelines. As always, these packs have all of the awesome anti-theft features as the original hydration and snack packs. Make sure you use code LizzyJane for $10 off any hydration pack and code LizzyJ for $5 off any snack pack. I will see you at the rave. The show today was brought to you by VitaPlur E-Boost Gum. With no pill to take or powders to mix, VitaPlur E-Boost Gum is a first-of-its-kind energy rave supplement that provides magnesium, electrolytes, and antioxidants while you chew. VitaPlur is the perfect complement to my active lifestyle, whether it's at the festival, on the road touring, or hitting the gym. Chew VitaPlur and dance with confidence. Use code LizzyJane for 10% off any order.
Nate, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you taking the time. You're back in Denver.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having me on. I know we've been trying to set this up for a while, and just like flight delays and all the other madness that comes with this is
We were
kind of
just talking about traveling.
Yeah.
The whole traveling situation. I think everybody who travels, whether they're DJ or a business professional, is dealing with wild traveling times.
Yep, it costs twice as much and is half as enjoyable. So
Yeah.
anyway, great times to travel right now.
The other day, I have a flight to Phoenix in October, and I got a text, and I sometimes, if it's real expensive, I'll do those third parties where I'm just like, hey, I have to walk away with not going negative on a show, and if I have to fly Frontier with a backpack to do it, I fucking will.
Definitely.
I will all day long. And I get this text, and they're like, you've been moved to a later flight, please go on and select the flight if it doesn't work for you. And then my flight that I booked my original ticket on was available, but they wanted me to pay $200, $300 more to be moved back to that flight. I was like, oh, hell no.
This is already our flight.
Yeah. Is there an airline out there that you've had a nightmare with? And is there an airline out there that you would say you would fly over everything else?
I will pay an obscene amount of money not to fly American Airlines.
Okay.
If I literally on tour, we had one day where we had to fly American, and I flew in a day early. It was actually a show out in Florida.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm actually going there a day early just because I know how unreliable, I'm going to miss the show if not.
Yep.
And of course it was delayed. I got in at 1 a.m. I was like, had this been the night of the show, I would have missed it.
Oh my God.
So yeah, for festivals, I always fly in the day before. And for anything I have to fly American, I fly the day before too, just because it's absolutely crazy. It's like 80%. I don't know if it's just out of my airport or whatever, but it's been rough.
And where do you live?
Oklahoma City.
Okay,
Yeah.
sweet. Have you been there for like quite a while?
Not really. It's this October will be 3 years.
Is it
We got a bunch of Oklahomies there. So yeah, a lot of like
Tynan?
Tynan is there. I actually just saw him at the airport on the way here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Tynan's there. Martin Liquid Stranger is there.
Okay.
Champagne Drip is there.
No way.
Viscous is also there.
Cool.
So we've got a nice little group.
What do you like about Oklahoma City? I love the musical, but I've never had the pleasure of going there.
It's a lot of really good food that's not like, it's more like mom and pop. Kind of reminds me of, I know people complain about the Denver food, but
no, they don't know where to go. They don't know where to go.
You can't go to the chains. You can't go to the chains anywhere, but you got to go to like the,
and you have to know how to use Google.
Yeah, exactly. Do a little digging. So that's why I like, there's a lot of new like infrastructure and stuff to do being put in place in Oklahoma City. It's like very rapidly growing, especially since like COVID. A lot of people moved away from the coast because it's so expensive to live. That may be the best thing about Oklahoma City. It's so cheap to live there. I mean, everywhere is expensive now, but comparatively, like a lot of my friends pay like double on their rent or mortgage that we do in Oklahoma City. So that's really a benefit right now.
There are people who live here who live in like 800 square foot studios, or maybe even like a 400 square foot studio. 2,000, 2,500.
See, that's like
wild.
That's like almost double our mortgage, and that's like almost the size of like just my dedicated studio in our house. So it's just like, once we started because we were originally looking around here and we started looking at prices, and I was like, we aren't going to be able to buy, and if we do, what we buy is going to be like, we aren't going to like it.
No, if I didn't have my boyfriend who like, we like split everything. It's easier to split. I will say, like, it's lovely to split, because if I didn't have a split, I think it would be a much different conversation living out here. But yeah, the whole corporate reality job, that definitely came in clutch when like moving out here, and just it's wild. And I think a lot of times, especially now more than ever, you've always had this like stigma. I mean, you walk around in Denver and it's like you could like throw like a cap and it'll land on like a dubstep DJ.
Yeah, very true.
And I think Denver's becoming this like still like low key underground hub that's amazing for this like niche subgenre of music.
100%.
But so many people like think of LA. They're like, I've got to be in LA to make it work, to make it happen, maybe to like get in front of people or network or all of that stuff that like ultimately doesn't improve like your craft.
Yeah.
And just those living situations are so unrealistic for like a quote unquote like starving growing artist.
And you got to look at like, and it's very interesting. I talk to this about the students I work with a lot, is waiting till you're getting some very heavy diminishing returns on like your growth in your production before you start looking into things like connections and brand. Because soon as you start like getting these shows and making these connections and start like taking off, you're going to lose a lot of this time for production and learning and growth and development. And while you always should be seeking that stuff, it's different when that's all you're seeking, so wait till you feel like, okay, it's really hard to learn stuff. I feel like, I've like plateaued a little bit. I can start to like reach out, but I see so many people, they take so much longer to learn and grow just because they're adding all these other factors. Like some people's first few songs they produce are like, oh, I need artwork and I need to hire an artist and I need to get t-shirts made. I'm like, take a deep breath, yo. You don't even need to release this. I'm not saying don't, but I'm saying there's no pressure here. So it's it's having that balance is really big, and knowing where to put your energy and when to, put that energy there. It's
hard because it's like everybody's journey is different. I think like we've both made mistakes, grown, learned, and like everybody will do that, even if you have the best mentor in the world saying A to Z, here's what you do, because it won't be verbatim what happens to you or what should happen to you or what you plan to happen to you and like the path of a career. But we've all seen, and like I've even had moments too where it's like you see people who have such potential that get just a little bit ahead of themselves, and then it just like it's like a lightning bolt and it just stunts your growth.
Yep.
And it's like I think it's just a combination of weight expectations and alternative like exterior factors, exactly what you said, that start to come into the picture, where it's the same deal. All of my Patreon students love them to death. Everybody's on a different journey. Some people are like, I have full jobs that I'm super happy with, and like music is a hobby and a passion and something I love, and maybe one day that'll turn into something else. I'm like, great, well, you have financial backing for it, so cheers to you.
Yeah.
And then other people who are like, I want to fucking do this. And it's like, you just have to be able to put your head down, put your blinders on. I mean, I still get in that position and say, like, this is going to be a long, long journey.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You really got to love it too, without like any end goal in mind. I remember, I forgot who the artist was, but it was a tweet. There's like, you're always going to say, I'll be happy when, and you have to be happy now.
Yep.
Because that win is never going to come. When you get there, there's a new win. You know what I mean? So it's like enjoying the journey, kind of every step of it. And it's even kind of what we were talking about a little bit before this, is taking things back to a point where it's like, you're not, all of your actions aren't building towards this like end ultimatum that you're trying to bring your brand to this level or whatever. It's like, I just want to do what feels right by me, you know, and express. And that's what I tell people too, is this is a really cool way to express everything you are in an audible form. All art is like, you know, the stuff behind us. It's like, this is these people's souls visually. Like, you get to see a visual representation of that. So when you express yourself based off of like something else that's not just like your creative expression, you're selling yourself short, because you don't get to display that true soul of yourself. You know, you're using this adult who you're like, oh, well, rhythm's popular now, maybe I'll do this, or drum and bass is popular, maybe I'll do this. It's like, I don't know, what do you use, what comes out of you, you know what I mean? Because otherwise it's just copying everything else that's going on. And
usually when you like see those like quote unquote trends, which happen ever so often in EDM,
yeah,
you know,
always changing.
Like, always changing, whether it's tech house, future. I remember what the future rhythm was, the melodic rhythm was that thing. And then like, you know, you had the people who had been doing it for 5 years before it was a thing are the only ones really doing it now after it's been a thing.
Yeah.
It's just like, if you're trying to go trend to trend and learning, and we do the YouTube University, and you collab with somebody whose like craft is really honed in that subgenre, by the time you understand the ins and outs of it, everybody's onto something else.
Definitely.
And I feel like your supporters and like your fans like can tell. And like, I personally am just like, I'd rather be like lost and like throwing stuff at the wall that I'm passionate about and seeing what sticks, than trying to continuously chase and doing stuff that like really long term I don't see myself doing and doesn't make me happy.
Definitely. I think the big C says it doesn't make you happy, because exploring new things, for example, I've like have this newfound love for like liquid D&B, especially producing
it's coming. It's coming.
So
Did you see
fun.
Rampage is actually coming to the United States for the first time ever?
That's awesome. Where is it going to be?
I have no idea. All
Okay.
it said, they posted a teaser the other day, and it was just all the Rampage logos. I have chills on the American flag, and they're coming. I don't know who they're going to partner with or do their own thing. They probably are going to come to a major city, but if they come over here, I feel like that is some sort of a symbolism, as like, we've built this up enough that now they're going to bring their dawns over to us. It's going to be this wild fucking ride.
That's awesome. That's super exciting to hear. And yeah, I think obviously it's bringing a lot of interest to artists who haven't taken interest in these genres before. And I think there's a big difference between people being genuinely interested in it or just kind of chasing it because they see it as a trend. And I see sometimes people getting hated on because they're moving over to it, even though they never have before. And I don't think they should be hated on for that. You know what I mean? It's just like you're showing something new that's cool and you like it and you want to, I don't know. It's not like you're chasing the clout or anything then. Some that does happen.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool to just see so many people willing to just explore. And again, it's about like having fun and about having that expression. And if you found a new way to express yourself, that's super cool.
It's super cool. And it makes it like, for the artist, exciting. Like for the creator, like in you, like there's very few artists that I've had the pleasure of speaking with, that I have the pleasure of calling friends, that are like, I love making dubstep and I want to make it until the day I die and there's nothing else I want to do.
Yep.
It's hard. Like
Yeah.
it's and I think like I was just listening to like this road trip classic rock playlist on Spotify. You know, you had like Stevie Nicks and you had like of course I can't remember anything now. You had like some Aerosmith, you had like Tears for Fears, you had all those guys.
Yeah.
And when you listen to just like the variety of their discography, so many of them reinvented themselves
Yep.
so many times. And I think we're coming up on a time in electronic dance music where people are way more receptive than they've been.
Mhm.
I don't know, because I would love to know your take on that, because we all kind of know, you know, when you're an artist, especially in electronic dance music, you kind of are looked upon to be part of like a family. Like, you know, like it's like, are you like sitting at the Wakan lunch table, or are you on the Disciple and Never Say Die lunch table, or
Definitely.
with like Seven Lions and the Ophelia crew?
Mhm.
And while I feel like that gives you like such a sense of like community, and I feel like Wakan is always like, you guys are really a family, and like that's so amazing. I don't always think that genuinely happens as much anymore.
Yeah.
It also sometimes is like, okay, but that's okay if this is just like a chapter of my journey.
Yeah,
It doesn't have
definitely.
to be the end all be all.
Oh, 100%. It was, I mean, there's several circles or like families I became a part of through the journey, like up to leading to a con. And I feel like even now furthering, I'm finding myself building more families, you know? So yeah, I feel like it's very much just like life. You know what I mean? You have friends, you get close, and then you distance, and you may not talk for 4 or 5 years, but you always have that like love for one another, you know? And I feel like that's really important to have that support, because this is not easy for anyone. It's a big risk. Like any artist, anyone who like chases their dream knows that it's scary, because especially once you start to achieve it, the fact that you know that you can lose it, it almost becomes scarier, because now you're like, I've seen the light. This is I've been living the dream. You're like, oh, but what do I have to maintain for this to continue to be the dream? And then that's something we touched on earlier too, is just like you start to make sacrifices creatively or like project wise that you other might not have made starting out, because you didn't have anything, and you're just like, oh, I've got nothing to lose here. I'm just, you know, going for the gold. And then once you have it, you're like, oh, I've got everything to lose now.
Yeah.
So, you know,
it's always that balance. It's that happy medium of, I mean, I will never forget, and I'm sure like you're the same way, like when you started to learn how to produce and started to learn how to like go through the ins and outs and everything, it's like we were all bad as could be, but it was like, let's just go for it. Like, let's just see what works. Like, let's there was no overthinking. There was no like, oh, like maybe this doesn't fit with like these collection of tracks, or maybe this label that I've kind of been working with, like maybe they aren't going to like it, or there's another artist that already sounds like that and they're not going to take it because this music now sounds like them. And it's all of these things that shouldn't hinder an individual, but because there's things to lose, and I've been obviously with the NFL starting, I've been super into, you know, watching Hard Knocks, quarterbacks, all these sports things. And, you know, when you're watching like any sports game, momentum's everything.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the same way for like an artist. Like when you start to get that momentum, you know, it's one thing if you start to get it and you're like, fuck, like I'm really unhappy and this is not going to end well, and we need to pivot, and I need to do stuff that makes me happy.
Definitely.
And then you get that momentum and you're like, it's time to rock and roll. Let's go. Like we got to have everything planned. We have this ready for releases. We have this tour coming up, and you have this whole team of people, almost like a sports team, working behind you to keep that momentum going. And any little like pivot or choice that you make that may be like a risk, quote unquote, could amount in you losing some of that momentum. But like at what like artistic sacrifice? Like you have to weigh like the pros and
just
cons.
like the players, what happens when you push them too hard for too long, they get injured. And then what's your career after you blow an ACL or something? It's just like, all right. Well, and you see that happen a lot with EDM artists too. It's just like, it's crazy. Just some of the names where I've just seen them like skyrocket to the top and then like
Crash and
disappear
burn.
within 2 years. And it's just like, oh, it's so sad too, because it's, I don't know, even like some of the like industry plant talk, if you look at it from their perspective, it's think about like, I think about it when I was, just getting into it. If someone approached me with these opportunities, I'm not going to say, I don't really think I deserve this yet.
Of course not.
No, you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to
Let's
fucking
fucking
work
go.
with it.
I'm
Even
gonna
if
make
I'm
it work.
afraid. And 'cause I've been in that situation my first back-to-back with Liquid Stranger, I was absolutely shitting my pants. I did not think I was ready. I was terrible, but I just did it. I was like, I'm going to work nonstop and do everything I can to make sure I don't fuck this up. But I do not think that but you just
But then
do
you
it.
do it and you get to the other side. And that's one of those moments where you're like, wow, this was on a bucket list. And now I did that shit, but now I'm focused on something else.
Yep.
And it's hard.
And that's where like I feel bad for the people sometimes, where it's almost like the industry. I've seen it happen a bunch where they pick this person up. It's like a plant situation, and then they spit them out.
Every opportunity under the sun. It goes, we're going to pick you up for, could be a million different reasons.
Mhm.
It could be everything from you're one of my clients' roommates, to you're a cousin, to you're a TikTok star, to whatever.
That's funny. I've literally seen all three of them.
Yeah, like, I feel like now I've been around
just reading
the sun
my mind
rotation
here.
enough to like see, and it's hard
Yeah.
when it's one of your friends.
Yeah.
It's hard when it's someone who has that potential,
Mhm.
and for a majority of different circumstances, they ended up in this position where they got picked up by a massive team,
Mhm.
given about a year to have every opportunity under the sun,
Yeah.
every major festival, a contract with Disco Donnie for 5 festivals, a contract with Insomniac Records for 10 festivals, in every club they do, maybe some small headlines, and then they say, okay, go sell tickets.
Yep. Oh,
And then
dude,
they
that is
can't.
so
And they
savage. I've seen that
disappear.
happen so many
and they
times.
disappear
Yep.
and they get replaced, or they're still there and they get benched and they get replaced by somebody who's identical.
And the whole time too, the really fucked up thing is like the industry and their team is telling them they're not selling tickets because they aren't good. It's not because the project has not built completely artificially.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? They've never had any real like ticket history. It's just jumping on these huge shows where they're playing at 6 o'clock to like 50 people in a 10,000 cap. They're like, well, I don't know how you didn't turn that into 500 organic tickets. And it's just like, oh, it's just, I feel, that's why I feel so bad for them. And it's just like, oh, people hearing this, like them hating on some of the plans, just realize like how hard they've got it. Like
the burn is hard.
It's more so, they say they hate the the player, not the game. But in this case, hate the game. Dude, the game is fucked up. So it's just like,
so fucked up, and you're so right, because it's like, obviously you have the demon of comparison that happens no matter what position you're in, and I think everybody goes through phases where they have really good strokes of being like, not tunnel vision. I'm supportive. I want everybody to win. And then you have those moments. I mean, maybe not everybody. I have those moments where I'm like, fuck, man, like, why isn't this happening? But it's also so hard when you like understand the reality of like, not only is that individual getting like really, I'm very thankful. And I think your community and fan base is very, generous and nice as well.
Yeah.
Where like, I've never been in a position where I've received like huge amounts of hate online.
Yeah,
I think I'm in a mental capacity where I definitely could handle it now. Whereas in maybe the first 1 to 2 years of my career, I'd be like, oh my God.
Oh,
I literally like back at like the 7th grade school table kind of deal. They receive so much hate on the way up and on the way down.
Yeah.
And then on the way down, it's like, holy shit, like this may have been something that they had been working years towards, and things aligned, this happened, and then your career's gone. And like it's also that kind of conversation though about the journey where some people just want to do it, hit it, quit it, quick.
Yeah.
And like that's dope.
Yeah.
Like fucking run it, like do it. But people who I think, this is their life and this is their craft and everything.
Yeah.
They want to do this for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Like
and
maybe
that's
it's
I feel
not
like
being a DJ, but
exactly. You see people that at least the music I gravitate towards the most is like the lifers. And if they didn't have a brand, it wouldn't matter. They have to make music. It is like, I know for me, it's the same way. It's like a mental health thing. Like just as much as, you need to exercise, like I need that outlet. Even if no one hears it. And that's, like you said, even, your Patreon students, some of them are just doing it for the ability to have that outlet. Yes. I think that's really important and really beautiful. So it's, if you're a lifer, setting it up in a way where you can continue to do it and enjoy it for your life is like really important too.
And understanding the skill set we have, like if you're not, again, to each their own, like there are a lot of people in this industry, especially in the more commercialized genres where it's kind of like you get that model DJ or you get that, Las Vegas resident guy or it's more of like a face and a performer kind of deal. But if you're really like making your music and getting better and like doing all the stuff, like you have such a skill set that can be applied to so many things out of making EDM.
Definitely. I think that's something we're seeing a lot now too, is people realizing we don't all need to take the same path. Something I actually loved, I don't know if you saw the Deadmau5 stuff where people were freaking out because he said like the pre-recorded set thing.
Yeah. I remember that.
I fucking love Deadmau5. All the stuff that like people get so mad at him for.
If I ever have him on my podcast one day, we will have a field day. We will just go off.
All the shit he says, I agree with most of it. I'm just like, he's the only one fucking saying it. But so the pre-recorded thing, anyway, the whole reason I brought it up was because I love that he's like, I'm engineer first, I'm a producer second, and he's like, I'm not a fucking DJ.
Yeah.
And I just love that he knows what he's good at and leans into that and makes it work for him, where we all don't need to be a DJ. We don't need to be a performer. Some of it. And that's how, I view myself as more of like an engineer. I love getting into like the nitty gritty of just making stuff sound as cool as possible. Because of that,
like an audiophile.
Yeah, like exactly. Yeah. Like I know I'm not the best songwriter in the world. It's like, it's good enough, but I know people who just like, it's just crazy. I see them in the studio and they just like think in music, and I'm just like, wow, that's just so impressive. So just like knowing your skill and knowing you don't have to be good at everything. You can lean into what you're exactly, and then you're kind of just stressing yourself out. So taking a little bit of the Deadmau5 approach and just kind of like, this is what I'm good at, and if I miss speaking on this, it's because I'm not a fucking DJ. I don't know what I'm talking. It's fine if I say pre-recorded instead of pre-planned, which I think was the big thing.
Yeah,
there.
Was the big thing. Yeah.
Then it's just, So
and especially now with like those A-tier acts that have that type of production, it's a team effort. You might as well call yourself a band at that point.
Yeah.
You've got a set list. You've got time-coded visuals. You've got everything starting at beat 1, measure 1, 10 p.m., set time, go. And it goes all the way through, and you know exactly what's going to... I remember... Excision's team reaches out almost every year. We're putting together the next set. Are there any demos? Are there anything? Whatever. And it's like, that's just the reality of like the production that they've chosen to put on.
It's for the fans at the end of the day. Because I always tell this to my students,
experience.
It's like a play.
Yes.
When you go to a play, no one goes there impromptuing their entire lines. They have it memorized, they practice, and the reason they practice is because they want to give a performance that is amazing and immaculate for the fans. Sure, all the actors could go up there and impromptu it. It's going to be kind of goofy. It's going to be like, meh. But if you go and plan it for months with an entire team, it's going to be fucking extraordinary, which is what you're seeing in these big A-tier acts. Yeah. And it's like...
Everything from like Excision to Odessa.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what I've said with even tour sets, because someone's asking me, they're like, well, do you do a tour set that you like repeat or do you change it? And I was like, when I build a tour set, I put my 120, like everything is in it. I edit every song. It is like I spent like a month on it, and it's immaculate, and it's pre-planned, not pre-recorded. And the reason I go city to city playing this set and not a different one every time is because I'm not just going to change it to make it different and worse just for the sake of changing it and then give some fans a worse experience than other fans. Exactly. I want to give them, say there's a couple fans who follow me city to city. I'd rather them have something that's slightly, repetitive than not give my all to some of my fans.
Yeah.
So that's where, and it's always changing too. For example, I played last weekend. I'm going to play a similar set this weekend, but also My buddy Shanghai Doom just sent me their new EP, which I'm gonna put like 3 songs from there and here. So it's like this always evolving, kind of like a gumbo. You're always stirring into.
But you have a template.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just think that like, and that's what Deadmau5 said is like the hard truth about 99.9% of DJs you see at every major festival. They're not going in there with the playlist. Like maybe in the house lane, maybe, but not usually.
Yeah.
Like
especially with harmonic mixing too.
Yeah.
If you're mixing in key,
Yep.
not all of us are perfect pitch. I can't just be like hit my cue button and be like, oh yeah, that's F sharp major. I know. Like, are you kidding me?
I have a playlist of 1,000 songs that I'm going to make my set right here on stage in front of 20,000 people. Let's go.
While I can't see the CDJs because the sun's glaring off them.
Yeah.
And the mic's not working, and it's 115 degrees. It's like, there's already so many other things that like go wrong that it's like.
It's a part of like being prepared. And like when you go on stage, like I feel like energy is very contagious. And if you like already know what you're playing and you're very prepared in that facet where you may just like add in a new ID or add in some new demos kind of deal, and it's changing very minimally, you can go up there and enjoy yourself and be that performer and put on that performer hat,
Exactly.
And like back to what you were saying about like, I'm like the exact opposite where my boyfriend says I'm audiophile, but I feel like I'm only an audiophile, like really engineer savvy when it comes to the audio quality of the podcast. I will literally cry over bad audio. After the Soul Fest days, 2 days after that, my hard drive crashed. And I had it on like automatic backup. So I had like the first 5 episodes I recorded, and then the rest of them I had to pull from like the video audio. And like, I used like the RX isotope products and like a little bit of AI and like tried to really jumble it together. But I've like spent so much time figuring out how to get the best dialogue and how to do the right chains and all of that stuff. And I definitely have a little bit of that engineer in me. But when I sit down, like I just want to write. That's why I have like so many templates and presets and racks and stuff that I know like, okay, like this is what I'm going for. Like this is what I'm vibing and feeling, and maybe I'll grab an instrument and go. But then it's like, okay, I will open a new file, I'll do the file, save as, start a mix project, make sure everything's down to audio, do a rough mix, and then I hand it to an engineer. And it's like, here are the stems, you have a field day. And like,
it opens up that creativity a lot more.
Collaborative art too that is so normalized in every other genre but EDM.
Yeah, it's really weird. People feeling weird about people getting their stuff mixed or mastered or engineered. It's just, I mean, even you can win a Grammy just for vocal mixing.
Yeah.
So it's
vocal
just
mixing.
like
vocal mixing,
just the vocal.
And
you know
they're
what
artists.
I mean? So,
like as a vocalist, like I've finally gotten myself to a point where like if I sing and we do the Melodyne and then we're doing compression and then I've got my 8 racks of everything from, your dry to your parallel to your saturated to your quarter note delayed. Everything.
Even the multiple takes of your harmonics, then walking you through that is like huge,
Walking you through that and then being like, okay, this is good enough to play out for a show, but we're still handing it to someone because it's that level of expertise where I often find engineers that aren't producers have that technical aspect that I personally lack.
Definitely.
And I feel like the more people, the better. There's a reason why even on most major EDM, I always say, hit the 3 dots on Spotify, go to the songwriters credited, and actually see how many people are working on these songs that are coming out for these major, artists, the Slanders, the Nightmares, those guys, because it's a very collaborative art. Like, and that's anything with Lady Gaga, 20 to 40 people credited on each song.
Especially when you get to that level, if you look at the we were talking about that momentum and expected to carry that, getting to like that pop, like just absolute ridiculous stardom, they're expected everything to be like a hit. And, I get this studio. Sometimes you write something, you spend 8 hours on it, and it is just not good. So
you can't force it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just part of it though, because then you'll write 8 hours, something terrible. Like I did this the other day. Last week I finished a demo, and I've been writing 2 songs in one lately. I don't know if you've ever done that.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm like writing these like conceptual like ideas and I'm like, wow, this like drop bangs here, but the second drop doesn't really sound too cohesive. And it was like 2 days of nonstop work. I like got on the phone with my manager. I was like, listen to the demo. Tell him it's all over the fucking place. Like, I don't know. And he's like, it sounds cool. It sounds like it's 2 songs. I was like, I totally agree with you. And then I went home and in 45 minutes of just bouncing it to 2 separate project files in the mix project, not even composing anything different and just like rearranging shit, I was like, I just wrote 2 songs.
Yep.
And they're fucking kick ass. Like,
Yep.
let's go. But you would never get there if you didn't do the 8 hours of shitty work.
Yeah, exactly. And it's an analogy I like to use as far as like having the racks and just getting into the songwriting instead of doing all this like peripheral engineering is like when painters go to paint. It's awesome to go all these paintings here.
Right? I know.
But
I love it.
they get their palette set with the idea of the colors they want. They don't go and like pour yellow, paint all the yellow, and then be like, okay, now I need to go to the art store and buy blue. And then they step away from the painting. They go and drive 20 minutes. They buy blue. They paint blue. Like, okay, now I need to go back and get black.
Yep.
And if you try to create like that, it the breaks in the creative flow, it would drive you nuts. So that's where like having all of this stuff, like even the sound design sessions done beforehand where you kind of just like have it all laid out in the track and you can kind of pick and place almost like Legos as opposed to being like, oh, I need a growl here. Let's spend 45 minutes making a growl now.
Yeah.
It just like it disconnects you so much from the creative process where it's like, no, make your whole palette, because then it also kind of gives your song direction. Because I know people are like, I just don't know where to go next. It's like, well, if you've got your palette, you know what colors you have. Well, if you've used, yellow and blue and you've got green there and you haven't touched it yet, I don't know, throw some up there. So it's just, it definitely, I like what you said about that, because that's really important, is getting right into that like songwriting and having yourself set up so you're not like stopping every single time to do a little bit of engineering here and there.
And is that kind of how you approach your like creative process? Like you'll have sound design days that like you probably love as an engineer. Like,
yeah,
sound
definitely.
orientated. Do you have like outboard gear? Like, do you have some analog stuff? Like, are you mostly still like just do you love like digital VST?
Yeah, mostly digital still. I switch around a lot. I feel like Phase Plant I've been using a lot. I really like Phase Plant. Yep. And then Serum, obviously, still a big go-to. I like whenever I feel like I'm at my full creative energy, that's when I like to songwrite.
Okay.
And then when I'm just like tired or had a really like long day, but I still want to be creative, that's when I do things like drum synthesis or sound design, because I feel like it's easier to kind of chug through some of that stuff when you're just kind of like
get some grooves going, or put down just like a melody, or just go and you open a project and you're like, I'm in F minor. We're designing in F minor.
Exactly, because there's no expectation there. When you go and you're just like, I'm just going to write a melody. Anything you do, it's going to end up being a melody, and it doesn't have to fit any sort of vibe or anything like that. It's just something you're putting away. So, because I feel like when people approach creative stuff tired, they can get very discouraged by not making progress because they're tired. So put yourself in a situation where there's no bar for progress. Just no matter what you do, it's going to be dopamine. It's like you're going to be happy with it. So that's where all the like creating your palette comes in when you're tired, don't necessarily feel like being 100% creative. And then when the creativity strikes, you've done all that pre-work, and now you can just capitalize on everything you've been doing the last week or so. Especially, I know a lot, like you said, like people getting into this, you still work a 9 to 5, like a lot of these producers getting into it. Just like even me doing lessons like 2 or 3 hours a day, which is definitely not a 9 to 5, and there's people working outdoors too. I don't know how you'd come home after that and then want to produce or have the energy to. So that's why, and that's a lot of my students deal with that. I'm just like, just get something, just do a little something, and then you won't feel so bad about it. And then Saturday morning, you can be like, all right, get into all the, we can hit the track now. I don't have to spend the first 5 hours of Saturday making growls.
Yeah, literally. And I think it's everybody's lifestyle is set up just so differently. Everybody's situation is so different that you have to find something that works for you.
Definitely.
And like I had Zen Selecta on last week, and she was like, like the exercise, the outdoors part, like the balance part is huge for me, because she's like, especially as someone who's really still growing and learning in the production lane, she's like, I can't sit down and focus and not get frustrated if I don't have this like energy out of me. And I know like you're going climbing tomorrow.
Yep.
And you do like a bunch of outdoor stuff. Like I know you do some yoga stuff. Like just like looking at your Twitter and like seeing your posts and stuff, you have very balanced, energy orientated kind of aura to you. Do you feel like that definitely affects kind of your progression in your project?
Yeah, definitely a lot. And all these things have just like come from just like extreme struggle. It's always like something that's led me to like all the best things in my life have been like the worst things in my life. For example, what led me to climbing was I had lost my cat last year, who me and my girlfriend have had for like 8 years, and he was just like basically just went missing, and it was just like a weird like no closure thing. And so I needed something just to like get me out of the house. Like I couldn't even produce or anything. So having that physical outlet of climbing, I mean, it's changed my life now. I love the community. It's made me a lot better shape. It's made my music a lot better. But like I said, it was like one of the worst things that kind of like pushed me till I was like, I have no idea what else I can do. I like can't be happy right now. So it's like, I need to reach outside of what my norms are and try to find something else to cope. So that's, where a lot of the stuff I've dealt with anxiety too for, most of my life. It was very extreme in middle. It was funny you said like the 7th grade like lunch table thing, because like immediately like panic shock. I actually had to go to like an alternate school for like the first half of the year in 7th grade because I had moved to New York from St. Louis, Missouri, and it was just like I had done 3 moves in like 2 years.
That's a shock.
And it was, during those years. And I was moving from Texas. So I had a very thick Texas accent in like New York.
Yep.
And like, I love my New Yorkers now, but they are not the most sugar-coated people, especially coming from Texas. And like, it was a big culture shock, and it was a lot to get adjusted to. But again, that led to like a lot of like my meditation, which brought me into like lucid dreaming and stuff at the time. And I had no idea what was going on, but getting older, I was like, oh, it's all this like biofeedback and this awareness of body and self that I like had to do, because I was just like, I couldn't even sit through class without doing these like breathing techniques. But then going into adulthood, I was like, oh, I like taught myself like astral projection and like
oh my God,
like lucid dreaming and stuff. So it's some, I don't know, some pretty crazy stories about dreaming and stuff, and that's why I name myself Lucid and stuff like that.
Oh, but, wow, that's wild.
Even like my girlfriend, we've been talking about this more lately. But when I first met her, I had been like meeting her in dreams for like years before that. And it was always like this kind of like romantic situation, but it like never had a face. We know people have like this energy or this aura where you like know it's them. So as soon as I met her, it was like this same energy of this person I had, been spending a lot of time with in these dreams. And then I was terrified because I was like, all right, this is like my soulmate. I was like, I can't fuck this up. So I was like, we'd known each other like a week, and I bought her electric force ticket, but I didn't tell her. I was like, this girl's going to think I'm fucking insane. Yeah. So I didn't tell her any of this till like down the road. But then I don't know, she was just like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. And then I stopped having the dreams and I stopped seeing this person, which was even more of like this indicator to me. This is who you've been looking for. This was like the feeling. And I don't know. I've like met like friends, like past parents, and had conversations with them. And then when I brought it up to my friends, they were like, no one's known that except for like me and this like. So it's out of some really, really like deep, crazy shit where I even didn't like believe any of it until it just started like, irrefutable evidence was coming out. Cause I just told my buddy, I was like, hey, I've never met your dad before, but like, I met with this dude who said he was your dad, who said this. Isn't that like a funky dream? He's like, that actually is my, like past father, who this is what he used to say to me all the time. What the fuck? I thought we were just like breakfast telling you about my weird dream. I didn't think we were like going into like the astral realm here. So
did you feel like that was like a, I guess, result of like the meditation that you like implemented?
So,
or have you always had dreams like this and then you didn't know how to understand them?
I had to bring it up to my mom, because then I was like, I remember having weird sleep habits as a kid. Like, what's up with that? And she was like, you like couldn't sleep as a kid. You had like such violent night terrors that you like refused to sleep. So even at like I don't even know how I was like 4 or 5, and they were like had me go into like therapists doing all this like biofeedback and these like deep meditation and like sleep tapes, which then I started thinking back to like I had a lot of reoccurring dreams as a kid. And then I was able to get out of those reoccurring dreams by becoming lucid in them and like fighting back at
like
the dream.
separating yourself.
Yeah, like one of these dreams, it was such a weird one. It was like this witch would come and like haunt me and these 2 kids. And it was like, it went on for like 2 years of me being a kid. And the only
Is it
way.
the same dream over and
Same
over again?
over and over. And we would just, we would just stand still. The key was you just couldn't move. And then she wouldn't see you like a T-Rex or something. So I just remember her walking past me being like terrified in all these dreams. And finally, I was like, you know what? I've had enough. I am sick of this. And so I finally just like, I was like, what do you want? And, like screamed at her. And she's like, oh, nothing. We're cool. And just like, that was it. And the dream just like disappeared. I never had it again. And since then I started having more of these dreams where I could like, I was like 6 years old.
Do you feel like you're like, because I still have night terrors that are like wild, and I'll have night terrors and I'll like my alarm will go off, and if I don't have to be up, like it's not for like a work thing or whatever, and I'm like on my own time, I will go back to sleep and finish the dream.
Yeah.
I will tell myself like, no, like my boyfriend, he never makes fun of me, but it's just hilarious because we'll wake up and I'll be like, no, like I have to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
Like I have to finish this shit.
Oh, I totally get it.
Wild.
It's like
crazy.
I've been like woken up deeply sad sometimes because I've had these like dreams that feel like they last for like a week.
You wake up exhausted.
And it's like, but I build this deep connection with someone, not even like a romantic love, but like almost like a brotherly, where it's just like, but then I wake up and I'm like, this person doesn't exist. I'm never going to see them again. But it's so weird because it's so real. It's such a genuine connection. Like, it's like this longing of someone that you almost like someone passing away. It's I don't know. That's why I think the dream world is like this whole connection to like what we are at like a base level, like the common human like consciousness, like our soul soup or whatever. I think it's us like taking glimpses into that, but not knowing necessarily how to process what we're seeing. Mm-hmm. So we relate it to things that we understand here.
Do you feel like in your dreams that you're always in a realistic situation? Are you in like an Inception kind of fucked up crazy thing? Because I'll have dreams like I have my first Red Rock show end of next month.
Congratulations. Awesome.
About 2 months ago, started having night terrors about the Red Rock shows. Started having these wild dreams that there was like flash flooding, and then I somehow missed the show, or like the show was going on and we thought it was on a different day, like something that would just never happen, but you're like, you know, like subconsciously you're thinking about it so much that it's coming through in your dreams. And then I've also had dreams where it's like you're in like Dubai or like somewhere in the Middle East, and like then all of a sudden like you drop down into this huge ocean and like things are moving, and like friends you haven't seen in years are like falling past you, like crazy.
Or like people,
shit.
or have it where you're talking to someone and you turn and like answer someone else and you turn back and it's a different person. And in the dream, it just, you don't skip a beat.
No.
You're just like, oh yeah, I'm just going to continue this conversation like that wasn't super weird. But then you go to like, remember the dream and you're like, what the hell? So
it's
yeah.
crazy. When I started taking edibles, it helped me substantially. My boyfriend remembered because when we were in Florida.
Like suppress the dreams?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Like when we were in Florida, I either wouldn't dream at all or I would have like nightmares. Mm-hmm. And then when we came out here, I would take one edible a night and then I just wouldn't dream. Like I was just out.
Yep.
Best sleep I've ever had since I think I've been like 5. And now, like, I have a tolerance to it, which it still helps. Like, it definitely still helps. But, you know, the dreaming will come back sometimes. And then sometimes it's not as, like, nightmare-y. Sometimes it's other types of dreams. So it's very curious to me, like, how those kind of, like, not necessarily, like, substances, but, like, aids really affect that, like, tranquility of your, like, dreaming. Because I always do feel like it's related, and I feel like when you don't deal with things in your own life, they come up in your dreams, or
100%.
like they'll show, or like da 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 da. But I've never had a dream where it's like what you said, like the future's there, but you can't really understand it, and then it does happen.
Yeah,
you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's Well, that's as far as the substance thing. People have asked me a lot, like, how can I lucid dream? And that's my number one thing is if you smoke weed, stop. And
Yeah.
if it's like, even if it's like a tough, like the best way to force it is like cold turkey it just for a couple nights. Even if you're
Yeah.
not planning on quitting weed, stop for a couple days. That's the quickest way to like throw yourself into this just like super deep sleep where you start having these dreams and especially these more like lucid
Vivid.
ones, vivid, yeah, where you like have a little control. And then a dream notebook too is like really important, especially for people who they're like, I don't dream at all, or like they just get flashes of like things like smells or colors.
Yeah.
But just writing that stuff down, just be like, hey, I remember purple flashes of light, being slightly happy, and then being afraid of a bus or something. Even as vague as it is, it like makes those connections in your brain to start remembering more and more. And be surprised, like in like a couple weeks, I've seen people be able to like go from remembering just like vague senses to like full blown like, you know, dreams that are very vivid. So yeah, not using substances and then doing the dream notebook is like two of my biggest tips if anyone out there is trying to lucid dream or
that's
get into that
wild.
stuff.
That's so crazy. Dreaming is a thing that I think so many people go through in different ways because everybody dreams differently, but not a lot of people actually like talk about because it's so like personal. And
Yeah.
like da da da. Do you? I can't remember. Are you? If you don't feel comfortable, just let me know. Are you completely like sober, or do you like microdose? Like, are you like?
I do microdose.
I've just started doing that. Does that help you substantially? It's helped me, but it may just
yeah.
be because I've never done it ever.
Definitely.
I don't think I've ever like technically like tripped. Like at least that's what everybody says. They're like, you haven't really tripped. I'm like, it's okay. I don't think I ever really need to trip.
Yeah.
But like the euphoric feeling and like just like I was just telling my boyfriend because he's going to a bachelor party this weekend in Florida. Like they're going
That's
on a
awesome.
cruise. I'm like, don't die. There's like Category 5 hurricane in the fucking
my
Atlantic.
gosh.
Just like boiling up. I'm like, okay, be smart. I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna like move my studio into the living room, put everything on the ground, bring all the instruments out, and just like chill the whole weekend and just like create, do whatever. I definitely think it's helped in a rut, but I don't know if it helps like long term.
I definitely the biggest thing I've noticed with it is I feel like, you know, when we're born as kids, you don't walk around like nervous. You're like everything is like when you're a clean slate, it's not like human intuition or instinct to be afraid of stuff. It is you want to explore. All new stuff is very exciting. And I feel like as we get older and we get hurt, you know, trauma makes you more afraid. It like adds this perspective or almost this like jadedness to the world.
Especially when you get hurt. When you get hurt or like, you know, whether it's like a friendship or boyfriend or girlfriend or family or like something like that, or you get bullied or you get made fun of. It just like it's like this crippling thing that just starts to weigh on you.
Definitely. And you know, builds more and more of just this like I don't know, shield or just like outlook on the world where you're just like, oh, the world just getting worse. Almost just like, you know, this old people like back in my day, you know? So I feel like that's where like the microdosing and, you know, just tripping in general helps reset that perspective. You go from like, for example, someone who's like is a bully, you go from seeing them just as this like evil, disgusting thing to seeing this like hurt, vulnerable like child.
Yeah.
You really start to see the pain in things and over like just the anger. And it just lets you have a perspective on like, I don't know, how hurt we all are together and all just trying to get through
People
it.
are so angry.
Yeah.
Like, especially, you know, it's hard because you just said the whole like, you know, older generations looking at us being like, you guys are fucking crazy. What are you doing? You don't know how to work. You don't know how to have a job. You know, everything you see on the media. But it's like, everybody's just so angry. And that's what I do feel like, especially the Wakan community. You guys really break down those walls, whether it's artists, fans, supporters, whatever. You guys act as one a lot. And, you know, with electronic music becoming so mainstream, you know, on all fronts, I think a little bit of that community has been diminished, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely.
But, you know, it's like, that's why like the whole like Plur thing and like having this community has always been like that focused on aspect that people from other genres of music come to. And they're like, wow, like we don't feel this in our crowd.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that's what, got me into this community. So even what got me into the rave scene was I was going through like a really bad breakup. I didn't have my first like real girlfriend until college. And it was my freshman year of college. We dated and then really bad breakup. And I came back sophomore year and it was like, my first relationship. I just said goodbye to all my friends, dumped everything into it and just got like super lost in this girl. And then so coming out of it, I, had just a couple good friends who were just like, it was actually one of my female friends. She's like, all right, you need to get out of the house. I'm taking you to a club. And I was like, no, I'm like, because I went to school for electrical engineering.
Yeah.
So I'm a super nerdy engineering boy. I don't like talk to people and I definitely don't dance. And she's like, no, you're coming out and you're dancing. And it was just so cool, like dancing like an absolute idiot because like no one cared. Like it was just this first time, and being an engineer, everything's over calculated. Everyone's watching me, that's just turned off for like the first time in my life. And it was so neat just to be like in a room of other people who otherwise felt like outcasts in their day-to-day life and just come together and just like have no judgment. And I think it's just like, we have lost parts of that. Things becoming more mainstream,
It's like good and bad. You always have that balance.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of the scene still does have that and it's still beautiful. But also to not forget that's why a lot of us come here. Yes. You know what I mean? Is for that acceptance. And I don't know, especially when you're getting into just like people getting angry at all like the producers for all this, like I don't know, people freaking out at Deadmau5 for misspeaking. It's just like there's way bigger fish to fry in the universe as far as like world hunger and actual shit that affects people other than like
what we were talking about before, like how important it is to have friends that are outside of EDM. In fact, maybe don't like EDM.
Yes.
And if you talk to them and you mentioned like John Summit, maybe they wouldn't know who you're talking about kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Because even to now with the whole like influencer culture, which that's a whole nother podcast in itself.
Yeah.
There are people who work in electronic dance music who are not artists, who are not industry professionals, who have monetized this to be their job.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, it's a fucking awesome reality to live in, but it's not the reality that most live in.
Oh, yeah.
And to have that like duality and to understand like whether it's through a partner or a best friend or even like close family members, what most people's lives look like on a day-to-day basis, I think humbles most individuals.
Definitely. And it's funny that we're like, I feel like one of the only of these like kind of niche communities that for some reason almost expects the rest of the world to understand exactly. It'd be like just some like cement truck mixer coming up and like speaking in all their nomenclature and being like, oh, you don't know about mixing it with lye, and being like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? Where we just walk up to people and, split this stuff out. Like, we're like, oh, you don't know John Summit? Like, weird. But we forget that this is definitely like a bubble we're in. It's gone mainstream in a lot in places, but it's still very much
still a bubble.
Yeah, it's still very much a bubble in our own little world. So yeah, it's like you said, it's so important just to get that perspective on like the whole rest of the world, just like stepping outside of like all of our own like little problems or whatever, and just like
they're really so minute.
Yep.
It's like even talking about the mishap with Izu from the past weekend and that leewaying into like just artists building and curating their own events and focusing on what makes them happy and what they want to do for their own shows.
Definitely.
And like, because like at the end of the day, the more I think you do away from the festival circuit and build that way, the more opportunities you're going to have in the festival circuit.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
For people who are listening where it's like, maybe you don't understand how like lineups are so greatly facilitated. It's like when you realistically understand that a whole talent budget for a festival, 80 to 85% of that is spent in the top 6 names.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And then from the top down, it's really built on market history and how many tickets you sold in the Southwest
or on the same team as those top 6 names. The same agent as those top 6 names.
But they're only getting maybe $750 for that whole entire show just to be on there and play to 50 people at 1 p.m. in the afternoon.
Yep.
That's a really crazy reality. And, and it's unfortunate that we have these staffing issues and we have these people who are throwing festivals that don't really know the logistics of it and stuff. There's much bigger problems.
Yeah,
At
definitely.
the end of the day, there's much larger problems.
Like, at the end of the day, it's our occupational, like, issues where it's like everyone has shitty days at work.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Regardless of what your job does, some days are going to suck. And our shitty days are much better than most people's shitty days.
Yeah.
That's why I say, like, go work construction and tell me about a shitty day in EDM. Like, come on. It's just
absolutely. And then now I know you're doing like other things in
Yeah.
addition to Lucid.
Yeah.
So tell me kind of about that. I had, when I posted on my stories for questions, someone really gave like 5 responses wanting to know about the fast track program.
Oh, awesome.
So what is that you're involved in now?
So Fast Track, I actually heard about it through Sully,
Okay.
the artist.
Yeah.
And so we've gotten,
Love him.
really close over the years.
Album is not out yet, right? It's coming out soon.
Yeah, exactly. His tour started yesterday.
Oh,
So
exciting.
yeah, I absolutely love him. Just great dude. And so I reached out to him as my tour was wrapping up, and I mean, just all the stresses we talked about, just all the pressures and numbers, and it is really hard to tour. And transparently, some dates crushed. We sold out Meow Wolf.
Yep.
Some dates I had 50 people at, and it was just like, and I'm totally fine with that. But it's
that
the pressure.
happens to everybody, and they just don't want to show
They
it.
don't talk about it, and that's where it's just like, I don't know. So that's where I was like, I don't know. I definitely want to change my approach on Lucid. I don't think that constantly just going for this nonstop like momentum game is working well for my mental health. So I reached out to Sully because I know he'd been working for this school. I was like, I really think I want to start, educating and doing engineering full time, and then have Lucid be just passion projects. If I don't feel like a show is something I'm passionate about, I can just turn it down. You know what I mean? I don't have to take everything. I don't have to do stuff that I don't feel good about because I need to eat.
Yes. Because
so
that diminishes everything. Not only does it diminish the value of your project if you're forced to take this booking where maybe like you're, in your own mind or your team's mind past that point, or maybe this isn't a good pairing. Like, no, like I shouldn't be playing with like fucking Dom Dollar, like, some crazy shit where it's like, this doesn't make sense for me and the growth of my project. And I know going into this, I'm only going into this for a money play, and I'm not walking away with anything else.
Yeah, and you're probably going to feel bad about it too sometimes bringing another crowd. Like, the crowds are just like, we want Dom Dollar. I'm like,
love the person in the front row who decides to face with their back towards you. It's always the best. Okay, keep going.
So yeah, Fast Track. I got into Sully, gave me a great reference there. And it's like a 12-week program similar to kind of a college setup where the first 4 weeks they spend going through our pre-made like video curriculum, and then 3 times a week we have one of our mentors. So there's 3 mentors total: me, Sully, and then another one. It goes by producer Omos or Oliver.
Okay, yeah.
And so we do a group session. I actually just did mine yesterday, where all the students submit any questions they have while they're going either through the videos, the curriculum, or while they're working on their tracks. Okay. And it's just kind of like office hours, in college, but like a group office hours, so they can all learn from each other's questions. And usually that's like, it's like 3 times a week, and they usually go about a couple hours. And so it's on the schedule where every 2 weeks they submit a song. So by the end of the 12 weeks, they have 5 songs submitted. It's like a nice little EP. Because so many producers, the big issue they have, they can get stuff started, but they don't get stuff to the finish line. So a big part of what we focus on is this kind of this workflow, having a good mentality, not only giving you the tools to know what to do, but also to, when you struggle and you get stuck in these ruts, how to push through those. Or if you work a 9 to 5, how to structure your life in a way where you can finish a song every 2 weeks and still work 80 hours in those 2 weeks, because we get students from all different walks. And that's just been super rewarding, working for other people, where at the end of the day, like with Lucid, I put a song out and it does like good or bad. It affects how I feel about like myself, but it's different when I'm working for other people. Like my student puts a song out and it crushes. That makes me so happy. It makes me more happy than if I put out a song and it crushes. It's just, I don't know. I feel like there's something to be said about like moving on into that chapter of life where you feel like bringing other people up.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I'm like 33 now, so even like looking into like kids and stuff in the future, so it makes sense. Take some of the new ones under my wing and just stop making it about me so much. I feel like that is another, just like when you feed your ego too much and always make it about you, you're gonna end up depressed because the ego is fucking hungry.
And it's hard because it's like this industry specifically demands you to be very selfish at times, and it's hard. It's like those things where you want everybody to win, but the harsh reality is not everybody gets to win.
Yep.
And you have to make decisions sometimes that are maybe not where your morals and values lie, or you kind of deem the consequences of losing that momentum, losing that sacrifice.
Yep.
And I think also teaching has taught me more about what I know than any session where I'm sitting with someone or I'm doing my own thing. When you have to elaborate and articulate how to post-process and what OTT actually is. And I think the biggest question is, what the fuck is compression and what the fuck is saturation? And I've watched a million different videos and there's a million different answers, and what really is it? And then like having to actually go, oh, what really is it? Because I know what it sounds like, but can you actually obtain that information enough to teach it to someone else confidently?
Definitely.
And, not only, and art is so biased too. I think that's a huge thing as well, where a lot of the kids that I work with, it's like, I'm just giving you like my take on what I would do.
Yeah.
But like, that's from my skill set and my experience. And like, you're going to go to someone else and they're going to tell you something totally different.
Yep.
So you just have to take from, you, Sully, Omos, whoever may be in there, like any, like Crank Dad has a great Patreon. I think Bleep Bloop had a great Patreon.
Yeah.
Barely Alive did, like,
Cone Sound.
Yeah, I was about to say Cone Sound. I was about to say Turnian Sound, but Cone Sound did. Like, there's definitely people out there where it's like, just go and absorb.
Yep.
And one-on-ones are great ways to learn, but I think this whole Patreon, like, producer school, like Wes End kind of started something very similar for like the house side of individuals, where he's got a bunch of house producers who he brings on and they sell their project files for songs that will never come out.
That's cool.
For kids to like download and open and like learn
really
from like
cool.
what somatics used to fucking do. And it's just like, there's so many different ways to learn, but at the end of the day, art is art. And like, you have to make conscientious decisions in what you want to sound like.
Definitely.
And if you can't get there, then it's like, how do I cross the bridge from A to B and then go to your mentors and say, this is exactly what I'm being hindered with? I still do that all the time.
Yep.
I think that's the cool thing about like producing, is you're never going to stop learning.
100%, especially because the standards are always changing. Even looking a few years ago, just like this whole loudness war thing, that's some of my students, even the last couple of weeks, or just
like a brick wall, no dynamic range.
They're like, wait, I see red on the master. I can only get this to like -9. And I'm like, okay, this has been my new experiment I do with all of them. I'm like, I'm gonna put a utility on here. I'm just gonna turn it up. We're not even gonna look at the master. No, don't even look. I'm just gonna turn it up until it sounds shitty. Like it sounds like really just over. Like you hear that distortion.
You hear that low end come in, and you're like, ew.
Yep. Yeah. And that's what it was. So my one student, it was sitting at like -9 lufs. We turned the track up to about like -5 and started getting really heavy distortion. And then I brought it up on like span, like spectral analysis. And I was like, you have way too much low end. If we take some of the lows down, we can probably push this further. So I put the lows down and we pushed. It was at like -2.5 lufs from like -9, but it was all, the red, it was clipping like crazy, but you didn't hear notable distortion. And the little bit of crunch you did hear was pleasurable. It was almost like saturation would have been added anyway. So that's something years ago, like if you told this to like engineers and stuff, they'd freak out.
I went to Full Sail.
Yeah.
I
went
to Full Sail.
Okay,
everything I was taught, and I went for Foley Sound, so it was a little bit different. I wasn't in there. I think the music production program started right right as I came in, and that was an option. And I was like, ooh, this would be cool. But I was like, I'm already like writing music out of this. I was like, I need to learn like a skill set.
Yeah,
like, I need like a trade that I can walk out here with that like actually now plays into obviously like a lot, like having like the Pro Tools like knowledge and stuff like that. Like I love using Pro Tools just for vocals.
Yeah.
But everything else, like I'm an Ableton, where it's like, you know, it's one of those things where the standard, you know, and I've ordered so many of those, a mixing engineer's guide to handbook, and like while it's cool, even though I hate reading it and it's very hard for me to obtain knowledge that way.
Yeah.
It's like, I always tell my students, Subtronics is like plus 20. So you just have to go on what sounds good. Look at your span. The span tells all. Box fan, free plugin. Download it. So easy. Make sure it's off the official site. and like just use visual representations that can show you what's happening, even if your ears are fatigued, even if you're in an untreated room.
Exactly.
SonarWorks is another really good thing that, like, I think Ray Volpe put me onto it years ago. And I was like, ooh, this is fucking dope. I remember one time I posted a studio clip and they're like, I have Yamaha Ace HS.
Yep.
And I love them. But I had them like on the side for a while. I'll switch them. I'll literally just destroy my studio, rearrange. It doesn't fucking matter. Like I have SonarWorks, bitch. Like, I don't need that shit. But it's just like use that and then go by your ear. You know, use reference tracks. Like use those things where you're doing the A/B comparison and the rules. Just like know them and understand them. Like maybe the basis of things. Like obviously, like you know, there's different categories when you're mixing or sound design or whatever. Like know how to automate, like know how to do that kind of stuff, but also throw the rules out the window. Yep. And just go by what you want.
And that's where the reference tracks, like you said, are just gold. It's like, because we were talking about like revamping some of the curriculum in a way where we teach people to mix in a way it's like one size fits all. Because say you're mixing, you know, Subtronics level dubstep, it's going to be mixed way differently than if you're doing a Cascade remix. Yeah. So how do we teach people in a way that's going to get them to preserve the right amount of dynamics, get the right levels? And the answer is reference tracks. Yeah. If you look at, you know, a Subtronics track and then your track and his subs and his mids and his highs are hitting a level and yours are hitting the same level, I can guarantee you're going to be within one or two luffs of his. You know what I mean? It's just, and same thing with the Cascade track. You know what I mean? If you're getting relative values, it's going to have relative loudness. It's going to have relative quality, like stuff like that.
Box fan, U-lead, loudness meter, free. Just pair them together, and I think a big thing to me too, especially when like I share racks or I get racks, understanding that the rack wasn't made for you, and like understanding that okay, this like barely alive vocal rack, like it's fucking awesome. It makes the vocal clip sound like Redux, like sound awesome, but you may need to tweak it. That may not be. You know, it's not a one size fits all kind of situation. Yeah. So while there's so many tools out there, it's also taking those tools, understanding them, and then how can I use them to my benefit to be unique through like my own sound?
100%. And that's what I see a lot is just having these one size fits all approaches to engineering can be really misleading. And so that's like the question I always ask students is why? Because they're like, oh, I just, you know, I bust all my synths and then on that group, I just put a limiter. And I was like, why? And they're just like, I don't know, because everyone just says to do that. It helps package them together. Yeah. And I was like, do they sound more packaged? I was like, I don't know, it's supposed to, so I think so. And I was like, I don't think it does. Like, you got to ask yourself why. Don't do these things just because it's arbitrarily done. Yeah. And that's why you start to do that. And that's like my one, it was actually a lesson yesterday where I was like, why is that OTT on there? Did you not feel it was bright enough? And he's like, no, I don't know. I just put another one there. So I deleted it and it sounded way better. So we just turned a bunch of stuff off. I just went and turned off 4 or 5 of his EQing and stuff that he couldn't give me good whys for. And all of a sudden the synth was ripping. Yeah. I was like, your synth is great. We don't have to do anything. All I do is turn off everything you did. Yeah. It's just like.
I was in Reddit yesterday and I'm trying to build up like new to Reddit. I'm trying to build up like my karma points so I can post. Yeah. And I'm like commenting on all these fucking people's posts and our EDM or our electronic music. And there was a guy who was like, I'm coming from like prog metal or like, you know, and I want to make the transition. And, you know, a lot of people were like, dubstep, tear out, dubstep.
Yeah.
And I'm like, totally. He's like, I want to go into like psytrance, da da da. He's just like, it's intimidating that once you get into a DAW, he's like, it's not an instrument where I can only riff so much and I can only play so many chords and there's only so many fingers on my left hand for me to do this and then me to riff here. And he said with Ableton or FL Studio, there's so many possibilities. There's so many infinite possibilities. And I think that's very intimidating to a lot of beginners. And a lot of people just throughout all the time, I have to take a step back and say, stop overcomplicating, stop over post-processing. Like if the sound sounds good with one saturator and barely, you know, any wetness on it, let it go.
Yeah, exactly.
Like let it go. It's okay. Like
Yep.
it's okay. And because, you know, when you look at these massive projects, especially when you go on YouTube, you know, you look at like a Kill the Noise project or you look at something and there's like 200 tracks and all of these different things going on, but he has a reason for each of those things being there. And I think it takes a really long time to really get to a point where you say, okay, I have a why for each track and each thing that I'm doing for each little post-processing chain on each track.
Yep. And that's where I think it's good to have a why for engineering, but I feel like it's good to throw it away for sound design. Sound design and that's why I almost like see OTT used more for sound design, where like you just throw a bunch of shit together and then just like OTT the hell out of it, but then like reconstruct it with your engineering. You know what I mean? So it's like very intentional in the engineering, very explorative and unintentional on the initial creativity and sound design, because some of the sounds that come out from just doing absolutely ridiculous stuff. I know like Tynan is amazing at this.
He's a beast.
Just like getting him in the studio and about 45 seconds from him sitting in the chair, he has a absolutely ridiculous synth out. And it's almost no rhyme. He's like, instead of one phaser, how do you feel about 14? And I'm just like, okay. It's like
I downloaded some Cranked racks from his Patreon. He's probably one of the Patreons I play close enough attention to. I love the way he breaks down projects. There's everybody just learns so differently. So when I see somebody who teaches in the way that I learn really well, I'm like, okay, this is it. Let's run and grab it. There was something that was just like beef it up, and it's literally like 5 utilities and like 20 OTTs, like just out the ass. I'm like, okay, sweet. That sounds great.
Yeah,
it's definitely beefed it up, like for sure. But yes, sound design is something where you just like go.
Yeah.
You just throw it at the wall.
Yep.
And maybe you'll never use it. And put it in a sample pack. Do something. You know, there's so many different things that you can do with that kind of stuff.
And that's like, I see new producers being like, I don't know how to sound design. I'm like, just spin shit.
Sound design was my hindrance, especially when I was like, when I had like the residency and I was like, I have a dubstep residency. I guess I'm making dubstep. Da 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 da. And it was very much so in the position of, I was just like, on Splice, I was on other, you know, sound kind of bouncing torrent sites. And that was my biggest hindrance was I can hear the sound in my head, but I can't create it. I can't create sound. And then when I got into more of like, okay, you're not fucking happy making hard dubstep, like let's actually go back to your roots of, you know, rock and pop and indie and all of that shit. It was a lot easier for me to go into something like Omnisphere or Native Instruments or play an instrument and then say, okay, well now like you have the skill set to like post-process really well. Post-process that into a lead that sounds fucking crazy.
Yeah, guitar.
Everybody has different things that work for them.
Definitely, 100%. I think, again, finding your strengths, like we were talking about with the, you know, the dead mouse thing, and really playing to those. And but like early on, being very explorative, because you don't know your strengths if you don't try a bunch of stuff out. And even like dubstep producers exploring different genres that may not be dubstep will make your dubstep better. You know, like just exploring this liquid drum and bass production, it's made all of my like fills and breaks way better. I used to be so lazy with that, but now since it's like such a core part of drum and bass,
subtle and like crisp, and exactly what you're saying on the part of, you know, listen to what I used to just listen to bass music. Like it was bass music 24/7. Boyfriend was like, how do you do this? And I was like, I don't know. And I loved it. But the second I kind of started bringing back in, you know, the metal influences, and then maybe some Childish Gambino, and then maybe some old Kanye and all this stuff. It really like, it's like almost considered a part of like quote unquote studying, but in a fun way. Like listen to different types of music, because there's so many influences that electronic dance music is having in other genres right now. And the way that their producers are using it are so different than we formulate it, that you can just learn so much.
Definitely.
So much.
I actually started a song recently based off of the Stain song. It's been a while.
Oh, yes.
Just listen to the guitar in the beginning of that. The melody is so fucking good. And there's just been a bunch of that. That's what me and my girlfriend call it farmer rock.
Yeah.
And it's just like we've been listening to a lot of like farmer rock and stuff, just like on the radio, and stuff like that. But some of the guitar riffs or some of the chord progressions are so sick and moody.
Die for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to die for those guys. Go to like the 98 Rock Fest, like all of that. You'd have everybody from like Avenged Sevenfold to Lamb of God to like Megadeth to like just crazy shit.
So fun fact, I actually got to interview M Shadows from Avenged Sevenfold.
What? That's fucking
over like COVID, because he was doing NFT stuff, and we were like part of the same circles.
What happened to that? What happened to that whole thing? Because I was this close to being. I had like my toes in the water.
Yeah.
And I was this close to being very involved. And then it just seemed like a lot of people. I saw like Blau, and then I saw it trickle down, and then I saw a lot of people pull back.
I think it has, as what the actual technology is, it has a lot of potential to do some really cool stuff. For example, I actually built a virtual world during all of this for people to like go in VR.
Yeah.
Me and Martin threw a show there where we recorded a mix together where I went to his house and we just did a set. And then
like a Minecraft
I actually it wasn't Minecraft. It was in bless you, VR chat.
Okay.
So I built a world in there, and it was all just like as if you were a person just shrunken down, and it's like this mushroom land where all the mushrooms would like float, and the spores were all like neon and stuff. And so even after the show, I had people hit me up because they were getting married and wanted to have their wedding reception there because it was COVID. And so they got all their friends together in VR, and they actually had the wedding in the world I built, which was really cool.
Oh my God.
So
that's amazing.
Right? It was, I don't know, it was super cool. So I think the potential, like at a base level, is really high for bringing people together and doing really cool new things. But one of the big negatives is anytime there is money up for, it's like the gold rush in the West. People went out there if you were good at digging or not. You just went there. So same thing, the NFTs. People, you don't have to be a software designer. They just saw money. You know what I mean? So a lot of people, that's where they just kind of made these projects that were less than genuine.
I remember all of the gorillas. Remember when it was like that? You like everybody needs to own a gorilla and like, all of this stuff. And that's like I think exactly what it was. Is like the financial side of the world that's very money orientated. Saw blockchain money. How do we do this? Let's do it. Because I remember like just starting to see the massive companies come in, like the Googles,
like Pepsi, and they even festivals had NFTs that you get for like attending the festival. And I think it's like, so an idea I had that I thought would be really cool is to kind of like gamify some of the LUZCID projects, so that if you went to shows, you would be able to like get these NFT tokens that then you could redeem for something. For example, you go to a coffee, every 5 coffees, you get a free mug or something like that. Exactly. Yeah. So this is a way for you to like prove people were at the show. They're not like just taking a bunch of other people's tickets and turning them in, and a way to then reward people for like attending shows, or then, you know, give them something to go back to, where it's like, okay, if we go shows, you also have like access to this other world. Just other ways to like make it more involved and more of like this like tight-knit community, which I think it's cool. But then other people just being like, oh, here's a gorilla, pay me $1 million for it, based off of this weird supply demand hype of like, and I think because that was the stuff that had the most money, it was the stuff that was the most advertised, and it was the most visible.
Yes.
And so that's all you saw on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone, someone would even say NFT, and you couldn't even say the word because then you get 100 bots. I actually was like super, into the whole technology, but I have the word NFT blocked on Twitter. You can't contact me.
NFT Twitter is, I will say, I would never say in my life that I ever thought a like subdivision of Twitter would be worse than EDM Twitter. NFT Twitter is a million times
It's
worse.
the most annoying
I
thing.
joined like 3 pages, and all of a sudden, exactly what you said, I'm getting tagged, I'm getting spammed, I'm getting botted, and I'm like, what the fuck?
It ruined my Discord. I had to turn off where I couldn't receive Discord friend requests for like 2 years because I joined one NFT server, and then all these people kept like trying to add me, and I was afraid to click anything because all of a sudden it like signs into my wallet and takes all my shit. So I was just like, I just turned off so no one could request me on Discord.
Yeah.
But that's like a big part of our network.
Yeah.
So it was just like, so I think there's a lot of the negativity. I hope it does. And I think it will make a comeback in a way where we do see some of the more like gamification where like, I don't know, you go to a football game and then you get like this memorabilia of like this digital ticket, which now instead of like putting it in a scrapbook or whatever, you have it in your like digital wallet or something. And then that's something that you can cash in for like I know Avenged Sevenfold does it. So you can actually get like a guitar from them and stuff like that. It's like really fucking cool.
That's cool.
So
and there's ways to use it as creators. Like I really liked the Sound XYZ thing.
Yeah.
Like Son Holo's done some stuff. Pauline Hare's done some stuff with them where like you can put out songs you maybe wouldn't put out other places.
Yeah.
To select few people. Like I like that, but I also was always just like, wait, like you own it, but like you could post it places. Like I don't know, like that was the muddy line for me.
Yeah, the weird ownership of, I feel like they made that like, it almost reminds me of owning the patent to something. So like you own the patent to like, I don't know, bottled water, but yet everyone else can drink bottled water. But since you're the one who owns it, you make money when people drink the bottled water. So that was like a lot of it. And it just like, I feel like no one gets excited about like patents and like, and if anything, they're like, I'm not excited unless I'm the one who owns the water bottle patent. What do I care? Someone else owns this, making money off of everything I do.
Yeah.
Like, so that's why people are like, fuck NFTs, you know? So I definitely get the disdain against it. I think it's unfortunate because I do think it's a bit of a missed opportunity in some of the tech and some of, the community building that could have been used for it. But I do think it'll cycle back and be presented in a way that's less ambiguous and just like predatory and weird. I don't know. I'm hoping like most things it hits like this steady, even like the .com bubble, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's things explode and then they normal out and then they become usable to the general public. So
and I think that's what it was. Like the initial hit, especially it was like on the back end, like during COVID, and nobody had anything else to do, and it was just this big up and down and all of that stuff. I could talk to you forever. So I have a few questions that I have to ask you, and then I will let you go. Tell me about your like journey with the Wakan family.
Cool. So actually, it's a cool one. How I like met them all was I was having it was a really rough year for me, and I was almost considering kind of like stopping music.
Yeah.
And I remember I want to say it was Izu I was at. And I just remember looking at some of the main stage acts and being like, I just don't get this. Cause it is like, this is when I like the whole, I don't know, like plant stuff, like all that. I was ignorant to it. So I was just like coming to realize it existed. It was true. And was getting super depressed. And I remember Essex at the time was backstage and I just went up to him and I was like, what is this shit, dude? Like, what is going on? Like, how do we survive this? Like, I was like, I'm really discouraged. And he's like, man, what about like Wakan? He's like, this is, a group that I've been signing with. I was like, man, I've been submitting. It's really tough just to get noticed. And he was like, oh, don't worry, I got you. So he went and was playing a couple of shows with Space Jesus at the time and, played the tracks out for him. And then Joshua went and played them to Martin. Yeah. And so within like 2 weeks of me showing Essex these tracks and Essex being like, dude, I got you. Loper, Martin's manager, actually hit me up on Facebook. Or no, actually Martin was the one who messaged me and was just like, hey, dude, love your songs. I heard them. I was doing a back-to-back with Joshua and I'm really into your music. He's like, do you need a manager? I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so, that's way better than getting any demo song.
Oh, yeah. So then, then I went, met Loper and we hit it off. And yeah, from then it was very obvious. Me and Martin became really close friends, and then yeah, just kind of been history from there.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, it's like a family. It's been some of my best friends have been from there. Like Schlump, I went on my first tour ever with him, and he's been a staple part of the family since like day one. I fucking love Michael. And Sully too is just like great dude. Like touring, that was one of my favorite tours, was being on the road with Sully, Dirt Monkey, and Martin. That was just that was just such a great experience. And so yeah, it's just I credit it to some of the best people I know. Really just grateful to be a part of that community.
Absolutely.
And that's what I always tell people, like, if you can't get to, like, Liquid Stranger is really busy, man, hard to like get in touch with from like a base level artist. So that's why I tell people, look who he works with, who you can get in touch with. Create the ladder for yourself. So it was like obvious for me. I was like, all right, well, Liquid Stranger doesn't answer, but here's, I'm really close friends with somebody he's close with. And it's not something I even considered. This was something just Sam just offered. But it's, giving advice to students moving forward is, you want to be on a label, collab with one of that label's smaller artists. Then once all the paperwork goes through, guess who gets an email from that team? You know what I mean? And now you have that contact. It's like things can be strategic, but also organic at the same time.
Yes.
And
don't like, I think the biggest thing is like, you're not going to get along with everybody. I feel like at the first, like very elementary LUZCID years, especially when I was a resident, when it was like, I just had so many artists coming through Ritz, and I had set music to certain artists, and then like I ended up like collabing with certain artists, and like it was just like a really cool time for that. But then it was this thing where it's like, don't force your connection with certain people. And because it's just like you making friends. You go to a baseball game and you're in a baseball league and you're all playing, you're not going to get along with everybody on that league.
Yep.
So there will be people who come along that you just click with.
Yep.
And there will be people who come along where it's like, we just don't see eye to eye. Like, we just don't like the same shit.
Oh, definitely.
And you just support each other and your acquaintances and be okay with that.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I've definitely had that, even on Wakan, and it's just kind of like this understanding where people come from.
Yes.
Going back to that, because no one makes malicious decisions. Even evil people don't make malicious decisions.
No, they think they're doing the right thing.
Yep. And that is a twisted part about good and bad. There's the whole fucking existence.
In my head, I just go, Trump.
Yeah.
At the back of my head, I'm like, maybe Putin just thinks he's saving the world, like, but that's like a different conversation.
It almost reminds me of like Westworld, where they're just like,
I love Westworld.
People are like, they are this amalgamation of every decision up to this point.
Yeah.
You are like, we are very much robots in a lot of ways, where like you're not born an asshole, or you're not born a nice person.
And like it's how like your life is like predetermined based on things that even came before you. Like, like determinism, like, it's not like conspiracy theory or whatever, but like it does make sense. Like if you're born into this financial group or into this culture or into this here, does that determine where you end up?
Yep.
And a lot of the times the answer is yes.
Yep. That's why I say people don't be like cocky about where you are, even if it's really whatever, because you've been given a gift to have the opportunity to be there. That's why I like to view it as like,
that we are able to do this.
Exactly.
Because even though 99% of us struggle and a lot of us still have day jobs and a lot of us work paycheck to paycheck, there are alternate realities where you would never be able to do this. Ever. Not even think about it.
Yep. Even though trying the same amount of heart, you can sometimes you just don't succeed. It's a reality of it. So yeah, it's definitely very, very blessed. And the way I like to look at it is like, going back to like what we are at like a base level, our like soul is like, we exist here and we're given the life we're given because our soul needs to learn a lesson. So if you're given maybe a really good life, maybe you need to learn, maybe you need to humble yourself. Maybe you need to be given, you need to be rich so you can learn to understand how to get rid of that stuff and humble yourself. Or maybe you're born poor, so you learn this, like, just to be grateful and stuff like that. So that's why I like to like look at every both the good things and bad things that happened to myself as opportunities to like learn at like the deepest level, you know? So
Absolutely. And I feel like everything we've talked about thus far has really been advice for young producers, but I had a lot of people who are like, advice for young producers, like what are a few tips that you would give them if they're just starting out, like not only with production, but like pursuing a career in being like an artist?
definitely. Number one is have fun, make it enjoyable for yourself. 'Cause like you said, it's a really, really long journey. There's no end in sight. So make sure you love it. You're setting yourself up for the future to continue to love it. And yeah, just don't. If someone tells you something that feels wrong at the core, but they say this is how you succeed, no. Believe in, like, of the trees. I don't know if you saw his tweet like yesterday about believing in Spanish moss, or maybe it was today. But he was basically like, I'd show my friends this song and they were kind of like, nah. And I'd show them other like banger stuff and they were like, yo, this is sick. And he's like, this song gets 250,000 plays a month and is at 6 million views. And it was something that no one really supported me on. But I believed in it and I wanted to put it out. And that, yeah, trust yourself, because the best ideas are always, people are going to look at them like, that's kind of crazy. You know, even like space travel, or anything like the most monumental stuff we've done. You thought when people brought it up, they're like, oh, sure, that's a great idea. Go in this pressurized cabin thousands of miles from help and good luck, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just like,
Yep. It's definitely like trusting your gut. I think a lot of it. I think you know, especially once you've made a few mistakes, you know that feeling where it's like, and also when it seems too good to be true, it usually is. I think that's definitely something I feel like I've run into, where it's like, wow, this is all aligning. Wow, this is fucking great. Like one of those things where it's like, ooh, have I like put in the work to really deserve this, or da 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 da, and then it doesn't pan out. And you're like, oh, well, that was too good to be true. That gut feeling that said, okay, something is so off here. Something was off.
Definitely. Like, and not like saying anything about the opportunity. It was an amazing set, but just like Base Canyon, they're like, you're closing out the second stage. And I was like, my tour did good. I know who else is on the lineup. I know my tour didn't do that good. I know that. I was like, and they're like, oh, you're playing at the same time as Excision.
Yep.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still fun. It's still great. Like, obviously, it was a great set, but it's just, you know, having that a little bit of.
I got that offer for it was not this year, last year, for the third the Starlight stage. It was like the Subsidia stage or whatever.
Yep.
And it was hard because I was just making this transition like way more into melodic releases than like heavy dubstep.
Yeah, especially that stage.
And it was all heavy rhythm. It was like, I think I was, well, they wanted to give me the set time at, I think it was like starting when Sullivan King was playing and ending when Excision was playing. And I was like, hell motherfucking no.
Yeah,
like, absolutely not. Like, I'd never played in Washington. Like, I had no crowd there. Like, I'm from Florida. Like, all this stuff. And like, we ended up taking a slot at like 4:30. But even then, it was like God. It was like Resurrect, and then like Vastive, and then like me, and then like Louis Jackson, and like OG Nixon. And I was just like, holy fuck. But it's one of those things where you do it, and I'm sure, like, I saw like the retweets and like the posts from it, like it looked great, and like you put on like the best show ever, and you just, you know that even if 5 people walk away and are like, wow, I never had heard of that person, and like now I'm a fan or whatever.
Yeah,
it's an accumulation of all of those plays,
definitely,
that add up long term.
Yeah, 100%. And even like, it's for the good of the festival too, because I'm very different than Excision, and there's some people who just can't handle that all day.
Yes.
There's some people who need that breath, or maybe some person's having a bad trip, you know, and they just need to step away from like the aggression for a sec. So that's like, cool, let me be the reprieve. I'll go ahead. Like, I had this one section of the set where I was like, I know this is going to tank here, but I know it's also really needed for some people. It's like just 2 minute where there's like no draw. It's almost like this like tipper clicky, just like, but it's gorgeous. And it's always the stuff that like, I don't know, I would like tear up during sets when I was like an attendee, and you know, maybe tripping a little bit or something. It's just like those stuff that really changed my life. And I like to be able to offer that, even if I know like some diehard Excision fans are going to walk away and be like, wow, this is way too soft. I need to like move.
Yeah,
but for some people, it's going to really like touch them. And
Yes.
like, I think it's important to stay true to you for even when you
Absolutely.
build your fans, because since it's a reflection of you and the fans like that reflection, you're going to find people who are like you and are going to be, you know, more about the things you like.
Yeah.
Whereas like, you know, if you're lying about who you are via your music, you're going to get fans that you don't necessarily, you know, jive with.
Yeah.
Which I've seen happen. And people are like, I hate my fans. Or just
Yeah.
like, well,
You can't choose your fans.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Somebody said that to me very early on, was you cannot choose your fans.
Yep.
And I rather have 10 to 10,000 people who support me that are good individuals and watch out for one another and are kind to each other and like are in the Discord and in the Facebook group and like care about the community than it being a bunch of people who really don't care about you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Which that's like a harsh reality too.
Yeah,
sometimes
definitely.
like we're fitting in this niche and I'm not really being true to myself. And then I have these followers that maybe aren't going to like what I put out next because I wasn't being true to myself.
Yep, definitely.
Whole rabbit hole. It's all a journey.
Yeah,
It's all a journey.
100%.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
I think
thanks
this
for
may
having
be
me.
the longest podcast.
Oh,
I've done
wow,
since I moved
nice.
to Denver, which I love. This is my ideal. There's no show later. There's no place I have to be. Like, I just want to be able to come and talk. So I appreciate you
Yeah, of
going
course.
full in with me.
Yeah, no, this was great.
Sweet.
Got to touch on stuff I've like never
I know. I'm
talked
excited.
about to like
People
many
are-
people.
people
So this
are
is a
gonna,
deep
like,
one.
freak. These are the ones that I love where people really walk away. And it's cool to have, you know, maybe I'll get like a 15, 20 minutes with somebody who's huge that
Mhm.
really isn't where the podcast is at, makes sense for them to come on. But the good conversations are what everybody like, what I enjoy, what
Yeah.
everybody listening enjoys. And that's like really what I want to continue to hone in. Like, it doesn't matter if you're like a local artist or like an A-tier act, like just come with the intent of having like an open conversation.
Yeah, and that's why I was looking forward to this, is because I've seen, you know, a lot of your past interviews and
Yeah.
stuff, and I was like, I knew
Something
this was going to
open.
be really cool, and
Yes.
especially like up my alley of, you know, getting into the 7th grade anxiety, just
Yep,
everything on the
yep,
table, which is just cool,
absolutely.
you know, because some places you're just like, so how long have you been using Ableton? I'm just like, okay,
Especially
well,
with
yeah.
the blogs, like I've definitely like talked with a lot of people, and I think blogs definitely serve their purpose. But we're in this like day and age where people love hearing content this way,
Mhm.
like they really do. And I think, you know, and I'm just saying this spectating this, but or speculating. That's what it. But it's like you're allowing your fans to hear stuff about you that like you've never really said. And,
Yeah.
you know, we're giving insight to like a lot of aspiring artists and producers and like stuff that my whole thing was just like stuff that I wish I heard
Mhm.
when I was starting.
Definitely.
And I, you know, I'm so gracious that like people like yourself and like, you know, everybody from like Ravenscoon to Recno to West End come on and they all give their 2 cents because it's all so different because everybody's journey is so different.
100%.
You know?
And I'm not really big on like social media, and because I felt like it's not a good way that I express myself organically.
Yeah.
But this is. So this is why I, you know, love to do this kind of stuff, because in turn of me not doing social media, it's like, all right, well, you have to put yourself out there some way. You know what I mean? Let fans get to know you some way. And
This is the best way.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is literally the best way. Like, no,
Exactly.
like 10-second hot shot round, like da-da-da. Like, this is who you are through and through. And it's not everyone's cup of tea. Totally get that. But for people who are like really passionate and they maybe don't want to do this whole TikTok, whatever game, it's like a story. It's like
Yeah.
your story, whatever you want to talk about, go.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly.
So,
Exactly.
thank you so
Yeah,
much.
of course. Thank
All
you
right.
again.
Bye, guys.
Bye.